Hi, I'm Sume and I'm 11 years old. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Makeshift Homeschool. Makeshift Homeschool is a platform where young people around the country use their unique strengths and passions to create projects to share with the world. Hi, in this video, I'll be showing you how to make a sign-in and sign-up page with Flutter without using anything like Firebase or any other extension for a database. And the reason why is because it is just to teach you the basics of databases and how to make just a simple one that functions to show just how it works. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna have to do is open Visual Studio Code. I made another video about the basics of Flutter that you can check out, and I'm basically going to be expanding on the project that I made to and add a sign in and sign up page. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just open the project, and this is a project, and I'm using Visual Studio Code. I know some people use like Android Studios, but I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. And to run this, I open up the simulator and I do run without debugging. And so I mentioned a lot of this inside the other video, but there's a toolbar here to use. And so this is just assuming that you know a bunch of the, like basically all the basics on how to make a simple Flutter project. Okay, so we're just gonna wait for this to run. And the way we're going to be making the sign in and sign up page, and basically the database we're going to be using is something called a map, and is also called a dictionary. And I know that's called a dictionary in Python. And basically how it works is that, like a dictionary, you have a word and then you have a definition, and the word is like, you want the word to be connected to the definition because you don't want to search for a word and get a different definition. And so we're basically going to be using the same thing for like the username and a password, because you want those two to be connected. So we have our app running up here. And so the first thing we need to do is make a new .dart file, and I'm going to call this login.dart. So the first thing you always want to do is to import material.dart. And what this does is it basically just gives you everything you need to make a simple app. And so I'm going to make a stateless widget that is called sign up. And the reason why I'm just making a sign up folder first, a sign up class first, is because we want to be able to sign up and put data inside the database before we are able to sign in. So there's actually data that we can use. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to change this to a scaffold. If you don't know what that is, you should watch my other video. And make an app bar. The app bar is going to say title. The title is going to be sign up. And so now we are going to make two variables that are strings over here. So basically, what these strings are for is so that when you, like in a sign up page, you're going to have like a username place and a password place for you to put the username and the password you want to use. And basically what these variables are going to be for is to take those values and then put it in the database. So the first thing to make a variable is to say what type of data you want to store in it. So if you're going to store a number, you would say int, we're storing a string, and there's also a type called dynamic, and generally you don't want to use that because dynamic basically means you can put any type of data. And the reason why you don't want to do that is because let's say I want to store the username, well then and I accidentally put in a number, if it was a dynamic, it wouldn't give me an error, which would seem to be a good thing, but it's actually a bad thing because then I don't realize that I'm putting in a number when I should be putting in a string. So we're going to call this username underscore sign up. And then I'm just going to put a semicolon. I'm not going to define the value of username sign up because that's what we're going to be doing by typing it in inside the app. So now let's just make a new one called password sign up. Okay, so now we have those strings. We are now going to make a variable called form key 2. Now this is a little bit this will look a little bit complicated, but then I'm going to explain it. And so I'm saying final right here because final basically makes it so that your variable has a final value and you can't change it. And that's what we want right now. And now what we're going to say is global key, form state, form key equals global key form state. Okay, so now let me explain what this does. So we have a final value, so now we can't change what form key is actually what form key is. And global key form state, all that's doing is giving us, is making it so that we're basically storing the things that we can do with the widget form state and putting it in form key. Now, the thing you can do with form state is multiple things. And so basically with form state, it allows you to do certain things like, as you can see, save, reset, form field, and like form.of. There's a bunch of different things you can do with form state. And now we're basically making a variable that can do all those things. And the reason why we're making it a final is because there's nothing we really want to change inside this variable. We just want, it's kind of like a function, and we just want to use form state without having to call global key form state every single time. And I hope, and now you'll see what I mean when we start building a little bit more. So this part is kind of the more complicated part, and it's where we're making something called, and if this is basically all the functionality that goes into making a into adding it to the database. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a void called sign up. And so before we do that, let me explain what a void is and one thing that we need to do before we make the void. So a void is basically a function and how you build a function, except a void doesn't return anything. And so like you just aren't going to return anything. Now, before we do that, we need to actually make our database, also known as map and also known as a dictionary. And so what we're going to do is we are going to say map, and then we're going to say string database equals Do I need to use curly brackets? Yeah, I do. So basically what this does is I'm making a map. And the reason why I'm saying string is because how a map is structured is that you're going to have like username and then, password. And so what this is doing is basically is having a username and it's having a password value and it's storing those together. And you can make multiple of these, and I'm just naming this map database. And the reason why I'm doing string is because that's the values I want to store. If I said string int, then this would give me an error and I'd have to put something like 2. But that's not what we're doing right now. So now we have this map. I'm not going to have anything in this right now because that's what we're going to be putting in data with the sign up page. Okay, so now we can make this void. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make another thing kind of like form key. And we're going to say final form state equals form key dot current state. And basically what I'm doing right now is I'm making another like function variable type thing that is basically taking the current state of form key. And that's all it's doing. And so the reason why is just because we're going to be using form state in this. So now I'm going to be making just like a bunch of if statements, and to basically make sure that we're getting like data that one, it's not just blank, because we don't want people to be able to just press the button without actually putting in anything and then we get blank fields in the database, because we don't want to be storing that. It's going to waste space, and we don't want people to be able to sign in without putting in anything. So if form state dot validate. Okay, so what is dot validate? Dot validate is one of the things that we got from form key that was from form state. And basically what it means is that it's making sure that we're putting in something that is actually going to be able to be read and able to be authenticated. And so that's basically checking if it's blank or not, because or if like someone put in something that is not going to be able to be stored, then we need to make sure that it's validated before we actually start the authentication process and putting it into the database. And so if it is validated, we are going to say form state dot save. So it's saving the data inside form state. And then we're going to say database username sign up equals password sign up. So what are we doing here? And what we're doing here is we're basically just taking the values inside username sign up and password sign up and storing it in the database. And that's how you basically do it. If we wanted to add, like, let's say we wanted to add a date, like something manually, we could just say like Sally123 is the username, and the password is going to be password123, which is not a very good password. And so that's how we're doing it. And basically what we're doing here is we're just taking the values inside username sign up and password sign up and putting it inside the database, just like how you would do it manually, except just like that. And so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to print database. And the reason why is because then we can actually see if it actually did anything, because we want to see that once we've signed up and we've added the things to the database, we want to print it to see that it actually changed. So now the last thing we're doing is we've added everything except we want to do form key dot current state dot reset. And the reason why we want to do this is because basically what reset does is it basically takes form key and wipes it. And so like, let's say you wrote Sally123 and password123 as your username and password. Once you've signed up already, we don't need that inside the text fields anymore. So we're just going to delete it so that when you go back to the sign up page, there aren't actually things inside it. It's blank again. And you'll see how this works. And now the next thing we need to do is basically else, an else statement. And all we're going to do is we're just going to say form key dot current state dot reset. And so the else, so let's just do a quick refresh on what this void does. So we have a void called sign up. We're making something called form state that basically takes the form key and it's getting the current state of form key. And now if the form state is actually something that we can validate, then we're going to save the values to the database. And we are going to add the so we're going to save the form state, we're going to add it to the database, and then we're going to print the database and then wipe the text fields. And so else we're just going to wipe the text fields. And that is pretty much all the functionality of the sign up. It's not really all that complicated, and it's just now we can just start building the UI and using the void to start saving data into the database. Okay, so now that we have the functionality, we can start building the page. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a body, which is basically just going to be the body of the page, and then we're going to say list view. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm basically going to make it so that the first page that pops up is the sign-in page. The sign-up page and the sign-in page. So we're just going to say home is going to be sign up, so that when you first go into the app, you have to sign in because we don't want it to immediately go into the home, and then we can see what we're building. So that's our sign up page. Now we're going to go to login, and then inside our list view, we're going to have children, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put the logo for the sign up page, just so people know. It's kind of like people know, oh, okay, I am in this app. And so I'm going to first wrap this list view with a container. And the reason why is because container has something called a padding that makes it so that one kind of cool thing that you can do is you can right click and then say format document, and it formats everything for you. So container padding edge insets.all, and it's just basically going to make it so that there's 15 pixels around the entire screen, so nothing's smushed up against the side or the top or the bottom. And now we are going to put an image dot asset. And so normally I would have to go into pubsec.yaml, say assets, images, make an images folder and put in images. But since I already have that functionality built in, all I have to do is just say image.asset images/logo. So you do need to do a few steps before you can just call images, and that is in my other video called The Basics of Flutter. And so now let's just see how that looks. Now we have our logo, which is a taco, and we can move on to the next thing, which is going to be the text fields where people put in their what they want their username and password to be. So we're not just going to put in text fields, and that's because we need to put it in something called a form. And the form is basically used when you want to like save data and have something with a form. And the reason why is because it has like certain properties that aren't just in like a list view or a column, let's say. So one of those properties that we're going to use is key. And for the key, we're just going to say form key. And that means that now we can use form key inside this form widget. And so the child of form will be a column, and then we can start building the text fields. And children, and now we're going to be using something called a text form field. And so this is going to be the username text form field. And the reason why we're doing a text form field and not a text field is because we are using it inside a form and we want to be using a text form field. So text form field. And so now here's something that is really cool, is that we made last time in the other video, we made a widget called Simple App Bar so that we didn't have to build out an app bar every single time. And now we're going to be doing something kind of similar, except it is going to be building out the UI of a text field. So the default text field is going to have black text, and it's not really going to be very custom. And since we're having two text fields for the username and the password, it will be a waste of code if we build out that UI twice. And so also, since we are going to be making a sign in page, we're also going to want to make another text field. So it'll be easier for us to just build out the widget. So the text field has something called, not right here. Login. Yep, good, cool. Has something called decoration, and then you can put in an input decoration where you can do a lot of things. Like you can have a border, you can have a bunch of different things. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making an image decoration widget. So, sorry, input decoration. Input decoration, and we're going to say simple text input. And so that's what we're going to be naming it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a string that's called hint. And the reason why is because in text fields, you can add something called a hint. And what that does is it basically has like a grayed out little thing. If you haven't put in anything, it'll say like username, and then you know that you're supposed to put a username inside that text field. So it's not just like, why is there these random text fields? What am I supposed to do with them? And so we don't want both the username and the password text fields to say username. So that's why we're using hint, is so that we can customize that. It's not the same thing every single time. So the first thing we're going to do is do the label text, which is the hint. The label. Okay, sorry. Return. So the first thing we need to do is we need to return input decoration. And then we can say label text. And label text is just going to be hint because we don't want it to be the same every single time. And you'll see how that works when we call simple text input. And then we are going to do border. And then we're going to do something called outline input border. There are a bunch of different things that you can do. You can do like underline input border and all that stuff, but I like the outline input border, and it basically just puts a border all around the text. And so I want the border to be rounded, so I'm going to say border radius is border radius dot circular 30. And basically what that's going to do is just going to make the edges rounded on the border of the outline input border. So that is that. And one thing that we're going to add is label style is going to be text style. And the reason why is because since our background is black, the default text style for the hint is black, and we want people to be able to see it. So I'm going to say colors dot white. And so then it's going to be white. And so now if we say decoration, then we can just call simple text input. And then the hint will be username. So now let's see how that looks. Now we have a thing. And so now we do need to change a few things like the outline input border. And you can say border side. And the border side can be border side colors dot white. Okay, so you can do things like focus border, and then do an outline input border. And then you can also do enabled border. An enabled border is like when you've actually clicked on the border, so then you can make it so that when you click on the border, it shows something different. So now, oh, never mind. Let me switch these. This should be green, and this one should be white. Okay. So basically what this does is it displays two different colors every time you click on it. I need to refresh it. So basically focus border is when you've actually clicked on it. So I make it so that when you click on it, it turns green. And then when you aren't clicking on it, it's white. So then it kind of makes it so that you know that you're typing in that field. So now we have the input border widget, simple text input, and now we need to make the actual functionality, because right now all it does is you can type stuff in it, and the way to make the text actually white is by saying style, and then text style, then you can say colors dot white. So now when we type in it, it's going to be white, so we can actually see what we're typing. Okay, so we have the UI, but right now it doesn't do anything. So what I'm going to do is there's something called a validator. That's also something that comes with text form field, but I don't think it comes with a normal text field. So we're going to be using the input of that so basically we're using the validator, and we're taking the input of whatever you put inside the username field. And then inside the validator, we're going to say if input dot is empty, then we are going to return please enter a username. And then else we're just going to say return null. And I don't think we need to put else either. We can just put that. Return null. Okay, so if it's empty, we're just going to say put in something, and if it's not empty, we're just going to return null. And so now there's another thing that we can do called on saved. And on save, it's basically going to check to see if we've saved this. And it basically is saying, so once you've saved it, it's signaling that that we're going to we're basically saying when we want to put the things in the database. If everything's validated and we know that, okay, the people have put in things for the username and the password, and now we want to put it in the database, what we're going to do is say input username sign up equals input. And what this does is it basically takes whatever you put inside the text form field and stores it in username sign up. And the way that this works is because we put in username sign up to the database. So basically, when this is saved, we know, okay, so we're going to take what we've written inside the text form field, and then we're going to put it into username sign up, which then username sign up is then put into the database. So hopefully that all makes sense. And now that's pretty much it for that text form field. And now I need to do the same thing for the password text form field. And so I'm just going to copy paste this and then just make the changes necessary. So it's going to have the same style and stuff, except this is going to say password, not username. And we're going to say, so if the validator is empty, we're going to say, please enter a password. And then we're going to, instead of saving it into username sign up, we're going to save it into password sign up. Now, we refresh that. They're going to be smushed together, which is why, well, like if you see, it gets green, this gets green. So all the UI is built out, except we need to put a space between username and password because that does not look very nice. And so this is not the username text form field, but the password text form field. And then we're going to put a sized box that has a height of 15. And let's see how that looks. Okay, cool. So now we have a space between the username and the password so they're not smushed together. Awesome. So now that is the password text field, but you also will notice that you're able to see the password, and that's not necessarily what you want because someone's looking over your shoulder, then they can now have your password and stuff. So this is actually super easy. All you have to do is just obscure text and then just change that to true. And so now you can see the username, but you can't see the password. So awesome. Now we have the username and the password all built out. But we can't put it in the sign up page yet because there's nothing to make it so that this saves. There's nothing to actually call the void sign up, make it so that the form state is saved, and make it so that the input is put into password sign up, and then the password sign up is then put into the database. So we need something to trigger all that, and which is why we're just going to have a sign up button. What should be pretty simple, because all the sign up button is really going to do is just call the void sign up. So it should be really, really simple. I'm going to put a size box over here because I don't want it to be smushed together either. That'll be like 25. And I'm just going to be using a flat button just because it's simple. Not a lat button, flat button. And child is going to be text that says sign, not sign. And on pressed, all it's going to do is it's just going to call the void sign up. So it's just going to say sign up, which we have over here. And so now everything should work. And let's see if it does. And once it's signed up, we want to make it so that it actually goes to the home page. So once you've signed up and everything's done, then we'll just say navigator dot push context material page root builder context home to import home.dart. Oh, context doesn't work. I'm going to move this void into here. Now everything should be good. Now everything should be working. Let's refresh this and say Where is the button? Okay. I need to make this text actually visible, not strut style. Style. Style is going to be text. Style. Color. Colors. White. Okay, awesome. Now, yeah, now we can sign up. So I'm gonna say Sally 123, password 123, sign up. And now, if you see how we printed the database, and now it's saying Sally 123 and password 123. So now both values are stored into the database. And so now we can move on to the sign in page, because now we actually have data that we can use to sign in to our app. So we are going to make the sign in page in the same .dart file. And the reason why is because the map is in this .dart file, and we can just have all the sign in and sign up in one place. So if I do this, then I'm just going to say sign in page. Okay, so that's sign in page. And now we are going to make another stateless widget called login. And some of the code is going to be pretty similar. So let's see here. We're going to make a scaffold and an app bar that says, please, what happened? No, okay. Title, text that says login. Okay, so now we have just a simple app bar, just so we know that we're on the login page. And now we're going to make another two strings another two variables. And instead of passwords, instead of username sign up, it's just going to be string username underscore sign in. So we're just making two variables again that will store the data that, not username, password, that will take the values that you put in and then search the database for it instead of putting it in the database. We're just going to be looking in the database to try to find a match for the username and the password, and to check that the username and the password are in the same one, because we don't, let's say if we have multiple things in the database, we have Sally 123, Jimmy 123, password 123, and then password 1234. We don't want to sign in with Jimmy 123 and then use Sally's password, because we just don't want that. So now that we have those, we are going to make another form key, because we still need to use things like validate, save, reset, and that's what form key is giving us. So we are going to make another form key down here, and getting a little thirsty, and now we need to, so we already made the map. We're not making another database because that's unnecessary. And we are going to make another void called login. So here, we're going to make the void over here. Login void, and so there's an extension. If you go into Marketplace, you have to install Dart and Flutter, and that are just some that you only need to install Dart and Flutter, and that's just part of the steps of installing Flutter and stuff. But what I installed is something called Colorful Comments, just to make it so that it's kind of I'm able to just do different colors with comments because it just helps me with organization in my code, and I find it very helpful. And that's why my comment is now yellow when I put this caret. But the default is that won't do anything. So yes, so we're making the login void. And then again, void is just a function that does not return anything. So we're making void and then login. And yes, now we can start coding that void. And then again, we are going to make form state because we are still going to want to take the current state of form key and use that in an easy way. So now we are making form state. And now with the login, there are going to be a lot more if statements, just to make sure, just because we're checking a lot more things. It's not just, oh, you filled this out, now we're going to put it in the database, but now it's kind of like, oh, we're looking for the database, and there's a lot more steps, which means a lot more if statements. So now we're going to say if form state dot validate, then so we are still, this is the same step that we used over here, is we're checking to make sure this is actually the data that was put into the text fields is actually something we can work with. And so now if form state is validated, we are going to take form state and we are just going to save it because we now are going to use it for the authentication process, but we are not done. And so now we're just going to say if database username equals password, oh sorry, password sign in, username sign in, then yep. So basically what this is doing is it's basically checking the database to see if username sign in, password sign in is actually something inside the database. So then again, username sign in, password sign in, they are just two variables that we are storing what what is put into the text form field and checking the database with these strings. And so now this is just checking to see if that is the case. And sorry, okay, I skipped a step. We are going to be using this later. Instead of doing that, we're going to say if database dot contains key username sign in. So we're basically checking the database to see if it actually has the value username sign in. And if it does, then and only then are we going to check to see if the username actually matches the password. I skipped a step right there. So we're first checking to see if the username is in the database, and then if the username is actually connected with the password in this format, that is what a map and dictionary use. And then that is pretty much it. After we do these three if statements, we know we are able to authenticate the values put in. We know that the database contains the username, and we know that the password is actually connected to the username, which then means this user is okay to sign in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to say form key dot current state dot reset, because again, if they sign out, we don't want just their last sign in to just be sitting there for anybody else who like picks up the app and then to just sign in like that, because that's not good. And so now we're just going to say navigator dot push context material material, page root, builder, context, context, home. And so now we are making it so that you have signed in, so now you're just going to go to the home page. Okay, so now we need to make all the else statements, and literally all of the else statements are going to be the same thing. We're just going to reset all the text fields. So also to see, never mind. So now we have the else statement, and it's just going to be form. It's going to be the same thing as this, form key.currentState.reset. And we are just going to do that for every single one. And yes, so now just a quick overview of the void that we just made. So we have a void called login. We are making the form state variable that we are going to use. We are making sure that it is validated to make sure that we can actually work with what was inputted into the text field. And if it is, we are going to save it because we then need to use it for the authentication process. Then we're going to check the database to make sure that the username is actually in the database. And then we're going to check that the username is connected to the password, just like this. And then once it is, we are going to reset the text fields, and then we're going to take the user to the home page because they've successfully signed in, and else we're just going to reset it for every single one. And that is pretty much it. So now we just need to build out the UI and make it so that people can actually sign in after that. And so we have pretty much just, we're going to put in the logo again, and we're just going to say body is going to be a container with a padding of edge insets dot all 15. And then the child of the container is going to be a list view which has children. And now we can put in the logo images. Oopsies, this needs to be a string, images / logo.png. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the home a sign in, because usually when you go into apps, the first thing that shows up isn't the sign up page, but the sign in. And then we're going to make it so that you can toggle back and forth between the sign in and sign up. Okay, so let's go to home.dart and, oh no, not home, main.dart. And instead of sign up, we are going to say log in. Yep, there we go. And so if we refresh this, this now says, need to completely refresh this. It now says log in. Awesome. So now here's the bad thing about using a map, and the reason why you're not going to want to use a map or a dictionary. Every time that you like when you make these actual, like, oh yeah, I didn't spell images correctly. When you make these like apps, and you make actual apps that you plan on sharing with a bunch of people and making a profit from, is because every time you refresh the app, I'm pretty sure it clears your map. So then you can't use that map anymore, which is unfortunate. So yes. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make another form, because we need to use the key. So I explained the form earlier, but basically you can provide a key, and we are going to be using form key. And then the child is going to be a column, because we want to put in multiple children. And now we are going to basically be having the same exact thing. And so I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to take the username text form field and password text form field, and there's only just the tiniest things that we have to change for our sign up page. And these are just a few of them. So username, and then instead of username sign up, we're doing username sign in. And instead of password sign up, we're doing password sign. No, not that. Okay, sign in. And then, oopsies. And then instead of sign up, it's going to be login. And instead of the button saying sign up, it's going to say login. And that is pretty much all you have to change. And so if we refresh that, let me first make sure, can I sign in with Sally123 and password123? Because I'm pretty sure that since we refreshed it, yeah, it's not working. So we need to make it so that we can actually go to the sign up page. And now inside an app bar, there's something called actions. And basically what that means is that you can have buttons inside the app bar. And so we're going to put a flat button that basically has a child that says text sign up, then on pressed navigator dot push replacement. And the reason why I want to do push replacement is because well, that's the thing, is that, okay, sorry, I messed up. You have to do this. The reason why I want to do push replacement is because when you're toggling back and forth between sign up and sign in, if people do that too many times, then that can crash the app. And if you do push replacement, then it'll make it so that you don't have a giant stack of just pages going on up on top of each other. And so I'm just going to do push replacement because of that reason. Material, page root, then builder, context, sign up. Instead of comma, we're doing a semicolon. Awesome. And for some reason, whenever you make a semicolon, it automatically formats the document, which is helpful. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that the color is colors.transparent, because if you look over here, oh, I haven't refreshed it. Okay, so now you can go to the sign up page. And now if we go to the sign up page, we also want to make a button that goes to the login page. So let me copy this flat button and go to the app bar up here, actions, flat button. Instead of sign up, we're going to just say login, and it goes to the login page. Now, you got login, sign up, login, sign up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sign up, and we are going to say Sally123, and then password 123, and then sign up. And now we need to make it so that there's a way for you to log out. So in home.dart, what I'm going to do is we have a drawer right here with nothing in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to put a container that has a padding of edge insets.all. I don't know, 50, let's see what that does. And then child that has a flat button that takes you to login. Except we need to import login.dart and then say login. Then let's see what that does. So if we go into the drawer, now we have a log out button. And so now if we go into login, we can now sign in with Sally123 and then password 123. Now we can log in. So that is how you make a simple sign in and sign up and log in page without having to have like a Firebase app, like having a Firebase extension or any other there's like Google provides a database service, I think, and like Amazon too, and so that's just a simple way of doing it with a map, and it isn't it's not really the best way to do it. And every time you refresh the app, it's going to wipe all the data. But it's just a way for you to understand like the basics of making like of a database sign up and showing like how that actually works in the process of if and else statements and things. So if you don't really know the basics of Flutter, that you can check out my other video, and I hope you enjoyed.